Welcome to the Haunted Hacker Podcast. It's been a while since I've recorded an episode, so we'll just call this version 2.0 for 2024. Today we have a really interesting guest. I'll talk a little bit about him in a bit. Um, as far as news goes, I'm currently retired now, thank God. And cybersecurity is still on the forefront. I'm still doing public speaking. I'm also doing a docu-series with Kaspersky starting soon. This will be my second series with Kaspersky. Other than that, let's jump right in. Today we have Mackie. So I met Mackie through his website. They have what's percysgrowroom.com. And so everybody knows that I'm a big proponent for cannabis reform and for legalization of cannabis. And so I've been doing a lot of research and diving into it. And I ran into Mackie and his UK group and was on their podcast last week, I believe, um, and learned a lot. So without further ado, Mackie, how are you, brother?
Good and high, sir. Good and high.
I hear you, man. Well, it's great to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, well, it was great to have you on the show. Your episode went out just on Wednesday.
Nice.
So it's out there for people to go and download if they want to. No pressure, of course, but it is there. Yeah, good show. I enjoyed the conversation, and I know there's a lot more for us to get to as well. It definitely isn't the last time we were going to speak.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, excited to be here and happy to come and just chat some shit for a while.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you start out at, and what brought you to where you're at now, and what are your plans for the future?
Jesus, that's a series of questions. I haven't done the whole origin story of Percy's Grow Room for a while, but it's quite complex. I was part of another forum. There was issues with how that forum was run, so a group of us decided we were going to go make a new forum. So I went out and started to learn how to build websites, started building the forum, and then after a couple of months, I was banned from the previous forum. They were saying that I was phishing members, and it was like, hold on for a second. Remember when we said we were going to all build this fucking website and shit because you're pissed off about the owners? Yeah, that was all forgotten. So it was like I was just banned, which when you have a piece of injustice like that, when you feel like you've been wronged in that way, then it kind of lights a fire under your ass. It's like, oh yeah, watch this then, watch this. So I'll continue to build the website, and that's where I am now.
I hear
But
you.
that's like 6-7 years ago when that happened. It's not like I'm even bitter about it anymore or anything, because I'll go and visit that previous website, which I still have some kind of connection to because it was where I started learning how to grow. And it was a great website back in the day, but nowadays they do have a lot of flaws, which I think are easily fixable. But
Yeah, I hear you. It's building a community is really difficult too. When I first started the Haunted Hacker, we had a Discord server and we used to do live episodes and have like user or guest interaction with the audience and whatnot. But I found that the bigger it got, the more hard it was to control or
mm-hmm.
to keep under control.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so I just decided to minimize that, go down to, just a intimate type of a podcast and did it with a Discord server and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of running on autopilot now, just doing things that I find interesting. And the
But I
whole
think sorry, he wasn't finished.
no, no, the whole grow concept is completely fascinating. That's what brought me to you guys.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good hobby, and obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I am a cannabis enthusiast. But if anybody wants to learn how to grow their own and just haven't got around to it because of legality, or they think that they're not capable of doing it or anything like that, then it's just time to start growing your own cannabis, man. Don't let anything hold you back. It is one of the best hobbies you can have, and it's good for the mental health when you have something to check on every day. And it gets to a certain point in the grow where it just smells fucking delicious, and you get to visit every day and be like, that's it's a fantastic hobby, man. And I hate to think, and this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, is I just hate to think of anybody out there who wants to grow their own, but thinks that either one, it's too complex or it's too risky because of bullshit fucking laws that we have. Excuse me, I didn't know if we could swear or
Oh
not.
yeah, you're good. You're good.
Cool, cool.
One thing that I find interesting is that I sat and thought about this the other day after we talked, and we talked about the plant being illegal. And in my mind, it's like if we had like let's say a third party come down from some other world and decide, you know what, this species right here, we're just going to go ahead and make it completely illegal. The human race has just got to go. I mean, that's basically what the law is doing with a plant, and it's kind of ridiculous to be honest with you.
It is. Beyond ridiculous. I do a lot of interviews, so I'm not sure which interview I said it on. It might have been when I was speaking to you, but I mentioned about I go for walks with my dog, and we're in the woods, and around the woods, all around me are plants that if I ingested, whether I smoked them or ate them, they would kill me. They are not illegal, and they just grow wild in the fucking woods, and there's not a problem. But cannabis, which is very, very not toxic. You're not going to eat a certain amount and die from overdose. That just doesn't happen. There's studies to say that it's impossible, but I'm not a scientist and shit. But I believe them. There's been no fatalities from the consumption of cannabis, but you can't have them plants. It just it's really I don't know, man. It boggles the mind, as they say, why this is still illegal and why it was even made illegal in the first place.
Yeah,
You know.
we touched on it a little bit too. The whole, especially in the US, the anti-war movement of the 60s is what kind of
Mm-hmm.
fueled the anti-cannabis and the reefer madness type stuff. Simply because of the fact that they want to control that anti-war movement. And the best way to do it is to arrest the activists. And all the activists were involved in
Well,
cannabis.
it depends who you ask
Yeah,
because it goes deeper than that as well about you because hemp, which
yeah.
hemp is a form of cannabis essentially. There's the cannabis plant; it has different variations of it,
Mhm.
and one of those variations are hemp, and it doesn't produce a lot of THC, which is the psychoactive ingredient that gets you high. Just in case the listeners don't know, and but hemp can be used. You might have seen this stuff called hempcrete, which is a substitute for concrete that's renewable because you can grow it using hemp. There's all sorts of textiles, clothing, paper, plastics. There's a lot of things that can be replaced by industrial hemp that would have cost a fortune for the oil companies and the fossil fuels with making their plastics and the paper companies from lumberjacks and all this stuff. Hemp is much more of an efficient fiber. So some people would say, and I don't know whether it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. Some people say that it starts way back in the 1920s to try and suppress those industries that could have replaced a significant portion of the fossil fuel industries
Yeah,
because
that
you can
would
also make hemp fuel and things like that. So there's so much you can do. The
okay.
hemp plant is an incredible plant. So to ban that, and the British Empire was pretty much built on the back of hemp because they made the sails for their ships, all of the ropes. The British Empire only existed because of the British Navy. We had the strongest navy in the world at the time, and they built their sails for all of the ships out of hemp fiber.
Nice.
See, yeah, it's an important ingredient to history, and it just gets ignored and overlooked sometimes.
And it still
But
gets used
anyway,
quite a bit too. Like, I know I had a
mhm.
pair of Adidas sneakers that were made out of hemp. So I mean, like textiles and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and some
and
of
you have to think how many more things would also be made out of hemp if it wasn't. Yeah, and it's not necessarily that hemp is illegal, cannabis itself is, which is it left hemp with stigma anyway. So there
yeah,
would be so many more things. People worry about the renewable energy and recycling and all that kind of thing. It is hemp is an amazing, yeah, amazing material that can not solve entirely, but at least take a big chunk of those problems away. You know.
yeah. I think a lot of the world's problems right now can be solved with cannabis.
Cannabis and mushrooms.
Yeah,
That's all we need.
help some people
you
relax a little bit.
know what I mean? You need to show the fuck out of it. Just drink this lemon tea.
Yeah, take this lemon tea and talk to me
You
about an
know what I
hour.
mean? That's right. That's
One
right.
thing that's funny though is that like when I was over in Europe, my first taste of the cannabis culture was in Holland, in Amsterdam, and I fell in love with it there. But what was funny was that it seemed like pretty much all over Europe that cannabis culture was in every corner. It
Mhm,
wasn't
mhm.
advertised as highly as Amsterdam, but I mean there was smoke shops in Prague and different places. But coming back to the States, it's like, it's so they want to seem so stringent about, the war on drugs. But what's funny is their laws can't even control the
Hmm.
manufacturing of the drugs.
It's
So,
ridiculous.
yeah, one thing I
It's
found interesting is that the way that you can go about growing in the US is that the seeds are legal. It's just not legal to germinate them. So you can buy
mhm.
them online, and it just seems so backwards. It just seems like they're
It
either
is
A,
ridiculous.
baiting people to try to grow it so that they can go and make more money in the prison systems, or two, they just don't really care about that portion of it, and they just want to wait until the plants are full grown and just raid.
Yeah. But it's ridiculous, man. I think it's just because the cannabis seeds are so easy to get into the country, I would assume anyway. But saying that it is difficult to get them into Australia, they got like bioscanners and shit. We have
What?
Australian members of the forum, and they always have difficulty getting seeds into Australia. It's crazy.
That's
But,
crazy.
you know, the underground market for cannabis seeds has been going for 50 years. You know, they made it illegal a long time ago, but look what's happened. We've had some of the best strains that have ever fucking been in the last 40 years. They've done nothing. So it's just a battle that they can't win. So I think to just legalize it like that, it's at least it's something they can tax and make some revenue off, but they're not
It's
really doing anything wrong. Because the thing that and it goes into this who is it, the World Health Organization, I think it is, might be
yeah,
the UN. It's one of those top organizations that pretty much that everybody signed an agreement to say you're not allowed to legalize cannabis or THC, or the wording is dodgy because it's legalese, you know, but you're not allowed to legalize this stuff for recreational use in any of your countries. And Canada has is in breach of that agreement, and now Germany is as well. So maybe that has prevented a lot of countries doing it because they didn't want to piss off the UN. So
yeah,
that's going to start changing things up as well.
yeah. I'm not really sure how much the UN is worth anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. The same. It's like it seems like all of the major organizations that are running the world have been corrupted.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that brings up another interesting point is that it seems like recently, within the last 10 years, there's been like a psychedelic and cannabis kind of surge. And I think that has a
Mhm.
lot to do with the geopolitical environment and socioeconomical status and the inflation and whatnot. But I see that every time that things get bad, it's like there's a surge into psychedelics or, into cannabis.
I don't know. I think it's been a huge part of society. I think for throughout the day, you know, the whole what 10,000 years. I think they put domestication down to, and I think for a long period of that time, and for like 200,000 years before that, humans were using mushrooms
Yeah.
or and cannabis or medicines like it for all that time. You know, hundreds of thousands of years. And I think it's part of the culture. It's just been taken away for the last 50 years. And they've managed to keep it suppressed a little bit because it had to be really legacy market underground shit to know anything about it. And they kept it underground. But when the internet came along, and now we just have this abundance of knowledge and information at our fingertips, it's just opened up the doors to everybody. They can't suppress it in the same way they used to,
Yeah, when I was
you
a
know.
kid, there's no way that I would even like dive off into trying to grow because I wouldn't know the first thing about it. And
Yeah,
there's no
and let's
internet.
get into that because that's what a lot of people say, and for sure, I completely understand. The first plant I grew was a cannabis plant, and I just wasn't interested in it before then. But after you've grown a few cannabis plants, and you've just seen how easy it is, and you see it with loads of growers. We've seen new growers coming all the time, and they'll start with cannabis, and they'll eventually, because it's a gateway drug, they'll grow into growing tomatoes, some lettuces. They want to grow some onions. They start to understand how soil works, and they have confidence in their ability to grow plants because
It's
people think it's difficult, and it's really not difficult. And I say that as an experienced grower, and it sounds I don't know, so it just sound a bit snobbish, being like it's so easy. And I'm not saying that because of my experience. Really, you've been brainwashed to think it is difficult.
difficult.
It is simple. It is really come and we just started a new series of grow guides on the podcast, and we're on episode 11. And from episode 1 up to episode 11, we take you from knowing nothing. So we're trying to figure out how much cannabis you need to grow. Once you figure out how many plants you want, we tell you what equipment you need to get to grow that many plants. how to look after it, where to get seeds from, everything done step by step in the most simple way we can explain.
Yeah,
Because I
no,
hate using scientific words and making things sound complex to boost my own ego. Keep it simple. Don't want to intimidate anybody. We keep it really simple. If you want to grow your own cannabis, that's where you want to start learning.
absolutely. And that's what got me hooked on the research was listening to your podcast. Those grow guides are phenomenal. And
Thanks,
you know,
man.
what's funny is I'm not an experienced grower, but
Mhm.
it is so easy. You
Yeah,
know, just like with mushrooms, you have to worry about, bacteria and
yeah.
pests.
That's not easy.
Yeah, no, you have to be psycho about, sanitization. Like you have to be super
Mhm.
clean. But with cannabis, it was weird because my thought is, okay, there's going to be a failure rate, and let's say it's 20%. So 80% of the seeds that I try to germinate are going to germinate is my mode of thinking when I first started. So take 30 seeds and out of that 30, if I get 15, great,
Mhm.
success. But all 30 happens.
Yeah, yeah. You've because where'd you get the seeds from?
All over the place. I usually
Right.
go to seedsman.com.
Yeah, yeah. Seedsmen are a type of seed company that have somebody hired specifically to germinate seeds to make sure that they have a good germination rate. And anything under 95% germination rate gets thrown away. They don't sell it anymore. They go on to the next batch. So
That's pretty
it's
awesome.
yeah, Seedsmen are a real good company, and that's a good shout there. If anybody wants to go and get some cannabis seeds and they think that I don't sound so crazy, you want to give this shit a go, then head to seedsmanseeds.com and pick what strain you want, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the cool thing about Seedsman is if I buy quite a bit of stuff from them, and they
Cool.
usually throw some stuff in for free too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So usually
Yep.
it's a small pack of seeds or whatever, or I think I have three of these canvas tote bags from it, but they're really cool about sending knee swag and stuff like that. So
From what I've seen, they are one of the best, definitely. And they've done competitions over on Percy's before. The Tom, the CEO, who's been on the podcast on the High on Homegrown
oh nice.
a couple of times, man. He's a real cool guy. Real cool guy. I like him. But
And
it's really cheap, because there's different kind of seeds you get. You get these
yeah,
high end breeder seeds, and then you can get these ones called white label, which are just cheap seeds. And you can go to Seedsman, get these cheap seeds, specifically their Jack Herrer
yeah,
is one of my favorites, but it's like £3 per seed. It's so ridiculously cheap.
yeah, and
And the genetics are high quality as well. So,
oh they
sorry, you were
are.
saying.
No, they are. The genetics are awesome, and not only that, but the quality of the seeds. Like I said, I have less than 0
Mm-hmm,
percentage of
mm-hmm.
failure. Like there is no failure with their seeds. Another
Nice.
cool thing too is their site. They describe the strains and give you like detailed information, which I find really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as seeds go, the land race, like the land race seeds, I'd like to collect those and
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
man.
put them in a bowl.
Well, do you know of the Real Seed Company?
No, no, I
Well,
don't.
there's this guy called Angus. He's from the UK, and this guy, he knows his shit, bro. He's been on our show a couple of times, like 4 hour conversations, man. He knows so much about cannabis. He loves it. Well, he runs this company called the Real Seed Company. If you just search for those on Google, you'll find them. And he has a collection of hundreds of land races. He goes out to India, to the Himalaya, to all of the cannabis fields out there, and he goes to see the farmers themselves and get seeds directly from them, from strains that have been growing there for thousands of years. Real land races from all over the world. He's got African strains, he's got Indian strains, Southeast Asia. Incredible site with a very impressive catalog of land races. Man, you have to go check that shit out.
I was watching Weedakit on Vice, and they had an episode where they were talking about land races and had
Mm-mm.
the Kings of Cannabis on there. That was pretty cool.
Cool, cool. Have you seen strain hunters before?
I haven't. Where's that stream at?
No, that's they're from the Greenhouse Seed Company.
Oh, nice, nice.
It's like an original cannabis. They go around the world exploring different countries, checking out the land races to find what kind of genetics they want to use to breed their greenhouse seed strains. So, and they've gone out there found incredible strains. And I keep saying strains, but I should say cultivars But as I said, I
Right.
don't like using these scientific words because people will be like, "What's a cultivar?" And essentially, we mean strain. So let's not get too deep into it. This isn't a science lesson.
Definitely not. Speaking of
No.
science lesson, I did get one of those plant clone kits for tissue
Okay.
clone. And I'm really
Okay.
looking
Cool.
forward to using that to like, isolate one of my, nice producers and best plants and try to clone them
Sweet.
off.
Have you got a strain in mind already? Have you?
Man, I'm really hoping this Jealousy Z is going to
Okay.
be a good strain. One that I have right now that looks really good. It's growing like quick, like super quick, and it's already frosted. Is the Grape Diamonds?
Damn.
Yeah,
Nice, man.
yeah.
There's so many strains out there now. So many cultivars, everybody. There's there's so many strains out. It's real difficult to pick what you want. I remember it was easy back in the day when it was just like White Widow, Bubblegum, and Super Silver Haze.
White
And
Widow.
now there's so many. White Widow back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And
White Widow was
the
a
blue
classic.
cheese. What's your favorite strain? Do you have a favorite strain?
To be honest with you, I have to say probably biscotti. The THC level's not too high.
Hmm.
If it was higher, it would be a godly strain. But I
Right,
like the
right.
taste of it. The taste of it is really good. The terpenes are phenomenal. The biscotti.
Man, what are you saying there with that? If it was a little stronger, it'll be too much. I have a strain like that right now, and I've been smoking some. I've taken like 4 draws on this joint, and there's a story behind it. Everybody, I quit smoking like 2 years ago because I was just smoking too much weed, man. I was smoking like 7 grams a day, a quarter a day, about an ounce and a half every week, and it's easy to do when you're a home grower because you have all this surplus. But still, it's a lot of cannabis to be consuming, and I just had enough one day, and I quit for 2 years, and I didn't smoke at all. And now a joint will last me 3 days because I'm such a lightweight, and I like to keep it like that. But the problem
Allegedly.
is about that, allegedly, yeah. The problem is with that shit is you don't get to enjoy strong cannabis and concentrates the way you could before. Before I would enjoy a nice hash and smoke some hash. If I smoked hash now, I'd be asleep. If I did a dab, then I'd be unconscious, man. And just a few draws of a joint pretty much hits me hard now, so I don't go any further than that.
Man, I was
Yeah,
out for 5 months in PTSD treatment, and I
right.
had no cannabis, no nothing for 5 months. And when I came back, the first joint that I took a draw from, man, I thought I was going under. I was stuck.
For sure, it's strong, isn't it? Especially the strong shit nowadays. And that's what brought me to say this. Is like, I've grown my own, and I've got just like an ounce of the pristine, the best of the best, but I just leave curing and I only hit it on special occasions. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna crack a top bud of one of those juicy buds over there, and it smells so sweet. It's been curing for about 3 months. So it's really nice now. And man, hitting that shit, it's so strong, but it's so full of flavor at the same time. So you want to hit it again and be like, that's delicious. Mm-mm. But if you hit too many times, you're gonna get too stoned, man. But it tastes so fucking good.
It
Shit.
does. It does. And the smell, like when you first go to grind it and the bud and just the smell of it on that first grind is just so
Mm-mm.
phenomenal. Yeah, but the way that I look at cannabis now, the government can't seem to get their shit straight when it comes to the way they want to address cannabis because we
Bro,
have
when it
state.
comes to anything, what you want about cannabis, when it comes to anything, they ain't got a fucking clue.
Exactly.
Shit.
But I mean, look at the way the US is going right now. Like the federal government says, well, it's not a criminal act anymore, but we're going to leave it up to the states. So you have these scattered states that it's legal, and then these handful of states that it's not. It's the same country. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But it's a big country.
And the people, I guess, are different from state to state. I
Hmm,
guess we're
hmm.
different breed or species or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But some
Fuck knows,
states,
man.
yeah,
I like the idea of the whole smaller government thing. So when they leave it up to the states, I think that's a good idea. But they also need to change the laws federally so people can do proper banking.
exactly, exactly.
That because it seems to be the major issue, and interstate commerce as well. When they're going from one state to another,
Man,
then that isn't allowed.
they had ex special forces guys that would contract to these grow rooms and these companies out in California that were selling cannabis, and they would transport their money for them
Mhm.
because if they were caught transporting that money, they could shut down the grow house. Like there were so many legal loopholes, and they were
Yeah.
still raiding grow houses, even though it was
Mhm.
legal.
Yeah, it's
And so
crazy.
they had to hire these special forces guys to go in and actually protect the money in the business. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah. Madness, mate. And
Yeah.
hopefully that will change soon. It seems to be heading in that direction. You got both parties right now saying that they'll federally legalize. So let's see what happens
Well, I think,
after January, right?
yeah, I think both parties are smoking probably a little bit too much right now, though.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think it's a great. I'm into American politics quite a bit. I don't know if you want to get into that conversation or not, but
Sure.
I'm all for it. But I enjoy American politics. I enjoy politics in general, but I'm more into the American side of things. It's less boring than UK politics,
It's
and
it's
less tragic.
it's like wrestling on Friday nights, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
entertainment. It's just it's
absolutely,
one big
absolutely.
drama. And it's all bullshit.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
what
but
I
it's been
find
fun to watch. Interesting cycle this year because I've been watching the USA elections every year for, I don't know, since like 2008. It's been a long time.
this one is definitely one you should watch because I think
Hmm.
that either way, either party, it doesn't matter who wins, there's going to be some level of civil unrest. So you're going to
I
see
think so as
riots.
well. Yeah, I think so
Yeah,
too. Mm.
yeah. And it's sad, man. But
It's because there's so many people who are so emotional right now about it. You know, it's like there's extremes on the left and there's extremes on the right, and both of them just need to chill out a little bit. And and there's people in the middle. It's a very emotional election, this one, compared to the others. It seems
sure.
like they're playing on people's emotions a lot more than policy nowadays. So
There's no
that's
policy in
been
this one.
different.
There's absolutely no
Yeah.
policy in this. Like I listened to the Kamala Harris interview with the National Black Journalist Association,
Okay. Okay.
and they would ask her a question, and there was zero details about the policy at all.
You
And what
know.
was funny was after the interview was completed, she just got up and walked off the stage, and the people that were interviewing her just kind of all looked at each other, turned and looked at each other, and it was epic. It looked like a scene
Hmm.
off of some
Hmm.
sitcom. Um, but yeah, I mean, just the lack of information and the lack of transparency. Like right now, nobody in America is really sure who is running the government. Like
Oh
we
yeah,
know.
that's terrifying, isn't it? And they think the thing is, I've seen somebody try and use that as a reassuring point of view. Like when Biden dropped out, sorry, when Biden was forced out by the Democratic
Kicked
establishment.
out. Yeah.
Let's be real. You can go back fucking 8 weeks ago and see tweets on Joe Biden's X page. Go there, scroll down, and you'll see I'm staying in the race. He says it himself. Or somebody tweeted it for him, but you know what I mean. It's there. Maybe they've deleted the tweet now, but it was there. I don't know.
Oh,
Go and check out, see if it is still there.
I'm sure it's still there. And I'll tell you I think who's running the show behind the scenes is Barack Obama. I think
Yeah,
that
that was the people have said a few times this is like Obama part three,
yeah,
and he was just a puppet, or Biden was just a puppet all along. But I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I think it goes higher than that. I, I think it's like the people who run the Democratic Party, which one of them is Barack Obama. But these huge donors, they are the guys who have the power.
yeah,
And
and
because
most of
that's what
them,
happened after debate. The donors were like, I'm putting the money out. Like, oh, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that. We'll make him step down.
right.
Nancy Pelosi went in there and had a word with him, like, Joe, come on. But he wanted to stay in, and the people of America wanted him to stay in. He got 14 million votes during
Crazy.
that Democratic primary. 14 million.
Insane. Absolutely
Yeah.
insane. And it was clear that he had lost his cognitive skills a while
Oh, no, no, he was sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack, bro.
back.
And it's sad, man, and I hate to laugh about it, but seriously, it's the media. They
Oh,
just played on it. It's like, oh no, he's absolutely fine, and it was clear that he wasn't. And I used to be like on the left, and like for 2016, Bernie Sanders was my guy, man. I like, yeah, Bernie
whoa.
Sanders is fucking cool. I like Bernie, and then the Democrats screwed him.
Dude.
And then Hillary Clinton went there, and then she lost to Trump, and I was like, "Oh, this orange man bad, boo!" And
Well,
and then
nice.
I heard all the way through 2016 to 2020, it was just 25th Amendment. This guy's not fit for office, not fit for office. 25th Amendment, blah, blah, blah. And then he did that whole fucking phone, keys, wallet, camera. Remember that? I did the cognitive test. I was so good. It's the best score ever.
Shaking invisible
Yeah,
hands.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, Joe, Orange Man bad, boo, 25th Amendment. Then Joe Biden gets into office, right? And well, I'll see, first of all, before Joe Biden gets into office, sorry if I'm ranting here, everybody, but we had Bernie Sanders going again. It was like, yes, people know who he is now. This guy is, people know his name. So he's got a better chance this time. Democratic Party screwed him
Oh yeah.
so fucking bad. And it was clear democracy did not exist in the Democratic Party at that point because Bernie Sanders was very, very popular. Whether I agree with his policies now or not, that's a different story. But back then, I did agree with his policies. I thought that this guy is fucking super cool, and he was clearly robbed. So Joe Biden could get into power in 2020. I was like, okay, cool, roll with this. And then he got into power, and it was clear that it was just a little bit too slow for this. And I was like, okay, anybody saying that 25th Amendment? You remember, like you're saying in Trump? Let me see.
Exactly.
25th Amendment? No? No, okay, let's give it 6 months. 6 months down the line, 25th Amendment, anybody? No?
No.
No, oh, he's got a stutter. Okay. Oh, he's always had a stutter. All right. Okay. Because I look at these videos from the 1980s because he's been in office all his life and there's no stutter here. Is it me? I'm delusional. Yeah, sorry, it's me. It's me. So
That and falling upstairs. He's the only human being I've ever seen that falls upstairs.
oh gosh. No, I don't want to go on too much of a political rant because Trump's not great either. This
To
is the
be honest
thing.
with
And
you, to be honest with you, man, politics, I go by this formula. So if you look at Babylon and you look at Rome and you look at, big empires like that, what's the longest standing empire? What, 250 something years? We're at 254 in the US.
Mhm.
And at any moment now, I'm waiting for that to collapse. And I think we're already seeing that. And just like every good empire does, we're going to implode on ourselves. We're going to blow ourselves up.
But do you think that it's not just it seems to be encouraged when it comes to the USA. It seems like there's outside interference going on with things and the way the
Sure.
media is pushed. And I think it's a worldwide thing as well because things are shit. House prices are up. The cost of living is fucking huge. Any prices up. Everything's going up but the wages. But this isn't just something that's just the USA. This is in the
Downing
UK,
Street.
in
Yeah.
Canada, Australia, all across Europe. This is happening everywhere. It's a worldwide thing.
Yep.
And, it's the aftermath of COVID, really.
What was happening during COVID? If you remember, like on Downing Street during COVID, during lockdowns, they were partying up you know, in Boris's house, chilling.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes, allegedly. And you had
Yeah.
MPs were cruising around on Easter Sunday. It was supposed to be locked down. I mean, I think people just lost their shit during COVID, and they just haven't gotten it back. Because if you look at things since then, when I came back to the States from the UK, this place was a nightmare. Like I didn't recognize any of this country. Like the things that were going on and the riots and people burning down cities, like I came back and was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like I
Yeah.
don't get it. But
But how long was you away from the USA?
man, I was gone for close to 3 years. You know, it was rough in the beginning, but
Mhm.
once I got settled into the UK and really, found my niche, like I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
most of my friends and most of the people that listen to this podcast actually are in the UK. So I
Yeah.
maintain those relationships because to me, like, to be honest with you, when you look at politics, you look at our two countries, when you look at England and the US,
Mhm.
we're not that much different. And we kind
No,
of
no, we are like the 51st state over here in the UK.
yeah,
We just wait for things like 6 months, and then they'll let us do whatever the USA is doing.
yeah,
There's some
exactly.
exceptions, of course, but you're like the big brother. You
Yeah,
guys are big brother.
exactly.
We're the little brother. We'll follow you wherever you go.
And it's a circus because
Hmm.
in my heart, I really believe that there really is no two-party system, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
believe it's one corporation and
Hmm.
they put up this guise of division to keep the people divided. Because you don't want the
Yeah.
people uniting when you're playing all these fuck games because
And when they're pointing at each other, not pointing upwards
yeah,
towards these people who are actually causing the problems.
yep, Exactly, 100%. And it's the people with money too. Like if you look at the people who are influencing the so-called parties, right? Especially the Democratic Party. George Clooney, who the fuck is he to tell anybody in politics what he thinks they should do? Go back to being an
Hmm.
actor and we'll rattle your chain when we want a good movie. But we don't want to
Yeah.
hear your political views. That's not what we pay you
Hmm.
for.
Yeah. When did this start happening? You
Oh
know,
man, it's
all
been
these
going on for a
celebrity
while.
endorsements.
It's been
And
going on for a
it's
while.
a difficult one because you point out that all these rich folk are like, yeah, let's go for Kamala, yeah, George Clooney, Oprah, obviously with that interview she did.
So,
There's so many, and Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, him too, and
yeah,
it's like it's contradictory though because you're like these people have no idea
they're
what it's
disconnected.
like to not be able to pay for the fucking rent this month,
Exactly.
you
And
know.
they're so disconnected and they
Mhm.
rub elbows with the elite. So not only do they have an ungodly amount of money that they don't have to worry about, but also a lot of them are above the law. Well, except for P. Diddy.
No, it's part of it, man. So, how long did you give him? You think he's going to get Epstein?
Oh, he's gonna be
Epstein?
Epstein day one, dude.
Mm.
He's not gonna make it very long at all.
Yeah, I've got a bet with a friend before the end of the week, but
Well,
it's
here's
a
the deal.
savage bet. Sorry, everybody, savagery.
He's going to prison where a lot of these, like gangsters from, old school 90s gangs, Crips and Bloods and all the East Coast, West Coast dilemmas that they had.
Man,
He's going into their house. It's not gonna be pretty,
no, no.
but he deserves it. He
So
deserves
you
it
ever
all.
seen Half Baked?
Yeah.
And or is it Kenny's in the prison and he says the thug gun over the phone? He's like, "You ever run backwards through a cornfield naked?"
Yeah. And that's what P. Diddy's about to
That's what
experience.
he is.
He's about
Oh,
to have
terrible.
he's about to
Gosh.
have an epic freak off, a marathon freak off.
No lube this time, P. Diddy.
Exactly.
Damn. Crazy shit, man. The world's a crazy place, which brings me into to ask you a question. What do you think about simulation theory, being that
Oh,
haunted hacker and cybersecurity and all the things you're into? What's your thoughts on that?
so simulation. And I got a really, I guess, close glimpse of what simulation might be the very first time I took mushrooms. And we talked
Okay.
about this. Like
Hmm.
the clouds look digital and I could see them forming, like I could see the movement, and it was not natural. And just the things around me, like I could see, geometric shapes that comprise different objects and how different objects moved. I mean, it was just insane. And I had to check myself. I was like, wait a minute, let me go back and really see what this is like again, because something's different here. I think I'm looking at things completely wrong. So I did it again, same thing, same dodecahedrons and just that same connectedness. And the way that the world felt, it didn't seem real. Like
Hmm.
everything seemed to move and just, I don't know, just a clear thought, just, one of those epiphanies that this can't be real. This has to be constructed, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. No, when you're on that kind of buzz from the mushrooms, you're on that kind of that level, which is just right, not too much. So you're still able to comprehend things and be able to discuss the experience with yourself as you're having it. I like them modes. They're good,
Yeah.
man.
I like to take
Mm-hmm.
notes. Like, I've got a notebook that I try to document every, experience like that. Um,
Yeah.
just to pass it down, to my kids. I've got tons of kids and if they don't want to dive off into something like that, at least they can read about what it was like and what the experience was like.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's people have to experience this shit at some point in their life. It's too young to think about your kids when they get older and things like that. But when they get to be adults, and already out there living their life, and they're when they're actual adults, it's difficult to describe when they are self-sufficient, living their life. I think that is good time to have that. Like, you want to do some shrooms, bro?
Man, I was 50. I just turned 50 and
Mm,
did shrooms for the first time. And I'm glad I waited, to be honest with you, because
yeah.
I did it with intent and purpose. It,
Hmm.
it
Absolutely.
wasn't
Yeah.
just like, let's see how fucked up we can get. It was,
Hmm.
this was my purpose. I wanted to dive a little deeper into myself and a little bit more introspect,
Mm-mm.
and it worked out. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it
man,
was
it
an
does.
amazing experience.
Yeah. No, I don't know, I've been using mushrooms for a few years now. But I've done them when I was a kid. But when I was a kid, and I say when I was a kid, I'm talking like 18 to
Uh,
20 around those times. Not like I was a kid, you know. I was legally an adult, but getting these shrooms. But when I was doing them as a kid, it was recreational use. I was doing it for fun. As you say, as you get older, you do these kind of things for more of a spiritual reason. There's content behind it. You know, there's reasoning behind it why you want to do these things instead of just getting smashed. You've been smashed in
yeah,
loads of different ways over and over again. It's boring now. You're looking for something deeper, you know?
absolutely. And mushrooms can definitely do that. And I think
Mm-mm.
that another thing that I felt when I took the mushrooms too, like the thought crossed my mind when I drank the concoction was the fact that, okay, I just ingested this and it's going to take me on a journey. And I think that's what helps me, create a barrier from having like a bad trip or
Mm-hmm.
experiencing
Mm-hmm.
something negative. Because one thing I had to keep in mind was this is all created by my mind, and this is what it wants me to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. There's only been one time when I had an intense trip. It wasn't a bad trip per se, but it was intense. And it was one of those ones where you're grinding your teeth and you're sweating, and you're taking like 3 showers, and you're like, oh my God, I just wish this would stop. But even that had purpose.
Just in case, I've heard that the best way to try and end the trip is essentially just piss as much as you can,
Yeah.
because that's how the psilocybin is leaving the body is through your piss. So if you just drink a bit, and take a couple of extra pisses because you drank an extra liter, then that will help get over it faster. But essentially, just just ride it out. It'll be over when it's over, man. That's all you can
Yeah,
do, really. Just don't go too far.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
And I
take it
hear about
easy.
people taking hero doses. There's
Mm-mm.
no way. There's no
No,
way I could
man.
do that.
I like to do a gram maximum for me, and I've got penis emin mushrooms right now, so they're stronger.
Oh
So I
yeah.
do like, man, 700 milligram, and then just mix that into the lemon tech and have that. Damn, that fucks me up good.
So how
I
do you
don't.
do it? Do you grind it up or do you just like,
No,
put
just
the
pick it
dried out
apart.
mushrooms? Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'll squeeze lemon juice over it and leave it to sit for about half hour because it's the acidity of the lemon juice that brings out
Yeah.
the psilocybin from the mushrooms.
Yeah, it
Just
helps
leave
your
that to
body
sit.
digest it quicker.
Hmm. And
That's
it
awesome.
pulls the psilocybin out of the mushroom as well.
Mhm.
So you can get rid of the mushroom then. Because when you have the mushroom, what's it called? Crichton or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's something like that. What the
yeah.
actual mushroom is made of. Those fibers, for the majority of people, and myself included, when you eat those, when you ingest those, then it kind of gives you an upset stomach, makes you feel a little bit queasy,
Yep.
can make you feel sick. But if you
Cramps.
don't have that by making like the lemon tech, it's called this method, uh, then you don't get that sickliness, and it comes on faster as well,
Yeah, it
straight into the
does.
stomach, straight absorbed. So sometimes when you eat mushrooms, you can be up to 2 hours before the shit actually starts kicking in. But if you have the lemon tech, it kicks in within 15 minutes, half an hour, and then
Yep.
it slowly builds up to a good buzz. After about an hour, you're buzzing for about an hour, then you take about an hour to come back down. And so it's timed. You're not going to be, oh, when's it kicking in? 2 hours later, it kicks in. You're tripping for 6 hours, and then you got 3 or 4 hours coming down. It's a long day, But with
Yep.
lemon tech, just good hit 5 6 hours. I say you're back to normal, but that would be inaccurate, I
Yeah.
think. But you're
Yeah,
not
and
mashed.
it just does good things for your body too. I remember that the first time I
Mm,
microdosed, the very next day, my body felt so great. Like I never
yeah.
felt better.
As I say, it's been part of our evolution for humans. A quarter of a million years at least, and then even before then, whatever we would have evolved on from before that, that would have also been consuming the psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
There's animals out there that get high off shit.
Well,
Like the monkeys do it, dolphins do it. I think octopus do it.
yep.
There's lots of different animals out there that get high, which are like on an evolutionary scale. In 10 million years, they might be the next human. Like
Exactly.
we evolved from a shrew,
Well, that's what
allegedly.
they that allegedly. That's what they say. That spurred evolution. There's a theory called the stoned ape theory.
Yeah, that's
And
right. Yeah, it is. Dennis McKenna, is it?
yeah,
Was it
Dennis
him?
McKenna. Yep,
Mm.
Dennis McKenna said that he believed that the apes actually ate the magic mushrooms, and that's what started, the very basic formation of language.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane because when you look at that organism is responsible for pretty much most of the life on this planet.
Hmm.
Like we started from that organism. That organism is what built life as we know it. And to think that again, we're going to make that illegal and put mushrooms behind bars.
Yeah, no, it's madness, man. It's madness.
But it's okay because they have pharmaceuticals that can do worse things and make you feel even worse.
Hmm.
And they're cheap. So we'll give those to you. Forget about the good stuff. We're going to make you take this stuff along with our vaccinations. So, maybe we can shorten your life and decrease the population a little bit.
Yeah, but my profit margins has increased. Woo!
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, and it's something that bothers me, that is the whole, because that's essentially it. It's they don't want us being able to, and I say they, meaning like, the shadow cabal that runs the world. They don't want us to be able to medicate ourselves. There's profit to be made in a patient cured is a customer lost and all that. And if you can just make your own medicine, which cannabis is, like
It is medicine.
you see hundreds of thousands of people have been across the website, percysgrowroom.com. They listen to the podcast. We're on nearly, close to 900,000 downloads now. So
Nice.
it's a shitload of downloads, man. And the majority of these people are going to be using cannabis medicinally in some way, but they want to try and pretend like it isn't a medicine. Again, the shadow cabal. It's ridiculous. It's because they don't want us to be able to be self-sufficient. We need to be dependent upon them so we don't overthrow them.
And it's sustainability too, like independent
Mm-hmm.
sustainability. And that's one thing that really turned me on to growing and getting into mushrooms and cannabis is the fact that you can be independently sustainable. Like I
Yeah, yeah.
can grow this and not have to go out on the street and partake in, some illegal crime to get what I need for medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it myself and it has a more fulfilling and like holistic.
Yeah, even growing it is just a medicine.
Oh yeah,
Even without consuming,
it keeps
it's
you
just the
accountable.
whole. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing, man.
I look at it this way. I look at them as children and, I have to be accountable to them. They rely on me to deliver everything they need. And it's a give and take relationship.
Yeah, you're still new to it then.
Yeah, totally.
They're just plants to me. I was explaining this the other day. I'm growing some autos right now from
uh,
Mephisto, epic genetics, real
oh,
good shit.
nice.
And sometimes the cannabis plant goes through this stage called the stretch, where it goes from the vegetative stage into the flowering stage, and it'll just
Veggie.
like double and triple in size. So I'm growing them indoors, and I got 4 plants, but one of them just would not stop stretching, man. Just kept going. I've moved the light up, and it kept going. I moved the light more, it kept going, and all the rest of the plants are like kind of steady at the same height, and just this one is
Yep.
going up and up and up. So I have to keep moving that, and then I had to raise up the shorter plants now to match where the light is. And I got up the other day. I was like, let's check this out. And it stretched again. And this is like 3 weeks into flower. It should not be stretching at this stage. This
Right.
doesn't happen very often. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do now? It's like, fuck it. I'm chopping the heads off.
Oh, no.
And it just chop, took them all down. I was like, it's done now. Fuck it. And it'll be fine. It'll do its thing. But, back in the day, like 10 years ago when I first started this, well, it's more like 13 years ago. When I thought I wouldn't do that. I'd think, oh no, I'm going to kill the plant if I do that. But no, it's just like, don't fuck with me again, motherfucker. Snip,
Snip, snip.
but I know it's fine. Now it's stopped all the stretch and it's all level and everything's good again. Because otherwise, I would have just have to keep on fucking fighting it.
Right.
But easy
Well,
enough to just take the tops off, man.
one question I have for you, with autoflowers. So I decided I was going to do an experiment. I bought some autoflower seeds and I bought some regular seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found that in the autoflower, because I planted I germinated the regular seeds first, and they had already started growing. They got to a flowering stage, and I flipped the lights. Well, the autoflowers I assumed would continue vegetating because they I I assumed would dictate when they flowered. That the lights had no schedule when it came to
Mm-hmm.
autoflowers.
Mhm.
But as soon as I flipped those lights back, those autoflowers went into flower. Every single one of them.
Yeah, well, that's about the time it would do it. Autos will flower at about 5 or 6 weeks. It goes from seed
Mhm.
and it'll grow to the stage where it's at sexual maturity and then it will start to flower. And that
Okay.
happens at about 5 or 6 weeks. So, and it, regardless of the light cycle it's on, it could be on 24 hours a day. Well, so if it's weak genetics, 24 hours a day might be too much and it won't flower. It'll keep vegging at that stage. But
Yeah.
if you get good autos from a good breeder, it should even be able to do it after on 24 hours a day. But that's a bad way to grow, I think. 1860 is best.
Yeah. That's
But
what I use.
yeah, when you flick to flower, when you go to 1212, it's like as soon as the plant can flower, an auto will begin to flower. It doesn't carry on vegging. It
Yeah.
reaches a stage where it can flower. And even with photo periods, it's the same thing. Even if you popped an auto seed and a photo seed together and put them on 1212, they'll flower around the same time.
Gotcha.
You know?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got one plant that's like you said, I've got one plant that's like 6 foot tall, and I kept topping it, and it just continues to grow. And it was supposed to be an autoflower.
Fuck,
Um,
really? Oh, and
yeah,
what did it not flower? Is that what you're saying?
well, it didn't flower until late, and it got leggy. Like when I say
Uh,
leggy, I'm talking like really leggy.
how long
And
ago was that?
oh man, so I've still got it. I'll take a picture of it for you.
Oh, so it's
Um,
running now and it's just a big
yeah,
lanky auto plant.
massive. Yeah, and then I have
Wow.
another auto plant that it looks like you took a large plant and squished it down to about a foot, and that's before it was even topped. Like it
Damn.
was just flat, but there were so many branches and it was so
Mm,
short. And so I started topping it, and now it's starting to get a little bit bigger, but has the biggest, I guess they're water leaves, the biggest water leaves I've ever seen. They're huge.
right. The fan leaves. Yeah.
Fan leaves, yeah. Yeah, they're massive.
Huh. What was the? I mean, are you sure the auto isn't auto?
100%, 100%.
Right.
Because out of that same vial of seeds, another one is like a fraction of the size, and
Right.
it just went to flowering. But the other one, when I topped it, I figured it would widen a little bit, but no, I just sprouted straight up, kept going.
Damn. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes to keep hold of these things. Yeah, but most of the time it ends up okay, but you always get them. Not always. No, that would be wrong to say, but the strains when they're grown from seed will always be a little bit different from each other, and
Yeah,
sometimes they can be really tall, sometimes they'll be really short, even though it's the same strain, from the same breeder, and they started at the same time. Sometimes they're tall, sometimes they're short. That's and it depends on where you get your genetics from. Will depend on how close together each. It's called phenotypes, just slight differences in the same genetic.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to be learned,
Hmm,
about
hmm.
growing cannabis, and I think that I
But you
wanted to
don't
do
even
this.
have to learn all that, just
No,
just in case the listeners are getting concerned, like, oh, that sounds crazy. Now, what did he say about those phenotypes? Like, don't worry about that. You don't need to know any of that.
just
Don't worry
know
about it.
that you have to germinate a seed, throw it on some
Hmm.
paper towel that's kind of damp, let it go for a couple days, throw it in some
Don't
dirt,
even need to do that,
done.
man. Soak that shit for a bit. Put it in the fucking soil, not strong soil. Make sure it's like a potting soil, or even better, cocoa coir.
Cocoa,
That
yeah,
would be good. Stick fucking like a plastic cup over the top and just wait for a few days, and that thing will pop. Don't plant it half a centimeter deep. It doesn't even need to be any deeper than that. And because you can always fill it up afterwards if you needed to. But if you plant it too deep, the seeds have got to struggle for longer to get out. You don't want it doing that. So half a centimeter deep, a little bit of weak soil or cocoa, and you're good, man. You be out of the soil in a couple of days, like 3 days, 4 days,
3 days, yeah.
and you'll see it pop up.
I had
Yeah,
I had one set of seeds that 24 hours they were already taprooted.
damn, nice, man.
Yeah, it's quick, and I was shocked. I think that was my first set of seeds, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is
Mhm.
actually gonna work."
Yeah, and like I said, I started growing cannabis first, and I wanted to grow some bonsais and shit afterwards. After I've been growing for a while, I'm going to try doing some other things. And I got this bonsai tree kit, and I cracked it open, and it had this seed, and it's like just leave sitting in water for 6 months. I was like,
Six
"What
months.
the fuck? We're stuck. We were talking about 3 days."
Right.
And it's loads of seeds are like that as well. They fucking take ages to germinate. We're so lucky with cannabis
Oh
for it to
yeah,
be, from germination to finishing in about 4 months.
almost. Yeah,
Damn,
it's about
damn,
right.
so lucky.
Yeah, the biggest part for me was just documentation. I think that the whole reason why I want to do this podcast, only because you're like super interesting and I really love growing cannabis, but also because it's a technical hobby. And I think
Hmm.
that people in cybersecurity, I always preach about, because we have a really bad problem of burnout in cybersecurity,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the suicide rate is unreal. So I tell people you have to take time for yourself and have hobbies and be able to break away and decompress. Well, that was my release, was learn how to grow cannabis. That was my break from the norm and my release. And so I
Hmm.
really dove into it, and being technical and having an analytical mind. First thing I did was hit the internet and go out and get Rosenthal's handbook on cannabis growing, and just really dive into it. And then what I realized was everything that you need to know and everything you could possibly encounter, both positive and negative, in growing anything, you can find on YouTube and a solution
Hmm.
to it.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
it's been pretty fascinating.
That's the thing with the internet, there's just so much information out there.
It's
But
crazy.
I just recommend everybody, the best thing to do is join a forum
Yes.
because you might be able to find your answers online, but you can't have conversations about them. But when you go to a forum like percysgrowroom.com, it's all free. It's 100% free. Never ask you for anything. You just sign up and you just enjoy the community. It's a great place.
And it's
But
not like other communities. Like they're very welcoming, and there's
mhm.
no bravado or machismo or no
We
bullshit that
got a
goes on.
rule. I think it's like rule number 9A or something. Don't be a dick, and
Yeah.
it's a bannable offense if you're a dick. So don't be a dick. But we don't have any kind of putting down of any members. That plant's shit, mate. It's like fucking what you can't. Nobody ever wants to have a sick cannabis plant. Nobody's gone out there and done that shit on purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
And they're just coming to us to learn how to grow their own cannabis, and they need guiding in the right direction. That's all. So guide them. Don't be a
Absolutely.
dick. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your demeanor too, like you have a great personality in a way that handle questions, and the group, the Percy's Grow Room is just awesome.
Mhm.
And
It's a nice place for sure. I'm very lucky.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's about the end of the hour, Mackie, and I really appreciate you coming on. And
Nice pleasure.
just
Thanks for
so
having me, man.
absolutely, man, anytime. And just so everybody knows, list off your socials so that people can find you and ask questions or get involved with Percy's Grow Room.
Yeah, well, that's all you just Google it, right? That's the best way. We're on Instagram and X. You can find us under Percy's Grow Room or High on Homegrown because we have the forum, which is percysgrowroom.com. Then we have the podcast, which is High on Homegrown. And that's where you can check out all the grow guides. You do 3 episodes a week. Excuse me. We have news on a Monday, interviews on Wednesdays, and grow guides on Fridays for you to download on whichever platform you download stuff from. So check that out. And we go live on YouTube every Sunday, 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. That's every Sunday. And we cover news and events and do the grow guides there as well. Yeah, there's always lots going on. So yeah, Percy's Grow Room is the forum. High on Homegrown is the podcast. Check them out if that's your kind of thing. And we're on Instagram and X. No, we're on Facebook, but you won't get responses over there because I don't like Facebook. You know.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it, Mackie, and let's do this again, man. Let's keep in touch because I
Yeah, man.
really
Cool. Yeah, of
enjoyed
course. Just let
picking
me
your
know.
brainless. Yeah, absolutely, man. And take care and give my best to all your British mates and land
Nice.
of the king now, not the queen.
Yeah. Okay.
Cheers, mate. Have a
Yeah,
good
man.
weekend,
Take care,
brother.
bro. Speak soon. Bye bye.
Yeah.